I should say the biggest challenge in implementation of this AI is the cultural resistance.
Hello, my name is Jason Reichl, and you're listening to Risk Management Brick by Brick. I'm fascinated with people who are helping build and maintain the physical world around us. On each episode of this podcast, we'll dive in with a risk manager, speak to them about how technology plays a role in this process.
Welcome to Brick by Brick. I'm your host, Jason Reichl, where we tackle all things risk, from AI to on the project risk. Today, we have a very special episode where we'll be diving deep into how to think about AI. I want to welcome my guest. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Jason. My name is Sai. I'm within construction space for over 8 years now. Currently, I'm working within Accenture to implement, AI and other automation tools within construction risk management space. It's been an awesome journey so far, and I'm learning every single day. It's an exciting time to be in construction and AI.
Accenture is a big name. AI is a big topic. Getting you on as a guest to kind of walk through what you're seeing from an innovation standpoint with your construction background is incredibly interesting to me. Why don't we just jump in with the first question here, which is, you have both construction experience and now you're focused on AI, but given your experience in program management and AI, how do you believe artificial intelligence is reshaping risk management in construction specifically?
For sure. That's a good question. When I think about how AI is reshaping risk management in construction, it's honestly one of the most fundamental transformations I have witnessed in my career. We are talking about moving from reactive firefighting approach to a predictive data-driven strategy that's fundamentally changing how we think about project success. For decades, we have been operating in this cycle where we wait for problems to emerge, problems such as schedule delays, cost overruns, safety incidents, and then scramble to contain the damage. That reactive approach worked when projects were simpler and more predictable. But in today's construction environment, it is exponentially more complex. We are dealing with data centers, R&D facilities, smart buildings with integrated IoT systems, and projects are having hundreds of variables changing on a daily basis. And so the margin of error has essentially disappeared. So think about it. Modern data center project, might have 50 plus subcontractors, thousands of components arriving from global supply chains with strict environmental controls. And also the technology systems that we are installing are evolving as we are even building them. So, the traditional risk management tools such as weekly meetings, monthly reports, spreadsheets tracking simply can't keep up with the level of complexity and the speed. So it's like navigating a Formula One race with a horse and a buggy.
I agree with you, but I want to just challenge, because if, say you took a risk manager who's 60 years old today, and you say, hey, when you started in the game when you were 20, they're going to say, well, projects got more complicated, more this, more that, and the tools got more complicated than that. So I think my question for you, Sai, is can you give me a specific example where AI has mitigated risk in a substantial way that maybe previously we would have missed that signal altogether?
That's a good question, right? So let me give you a concrete example from my own research. So the automated construction progress monitoring system that I developed and published. So, in traditional progress monitoring is incredibly manual and subjective, where superintendents walk sites, make educated guesses such as structural steel is 60% complete. More problematically, these assessments happen weekly at best, or problems aren't detected for days or even for weeks. So it's like finding out your house is on fire after the roof has collapsed. But in diving into my example here, my AI system revolutionized this using drones, LiDAR, side cameras, and 4D models across 3 live projects. We processed over 900 hours of site footage, 2,300 drone images, and probably around 200 LiDAR scans. So the system used computer vision, semantic segmentation, and graph neural networks to not just see through the current progress, but predict how delays would ripple through future activities. And the results were transformational. 94% accuracy versus 78% accuracy in comparison to the manual methods.
Are more error prone and take longer to manage. If you just sent drones up and got video footage or LiDAR or any of that stuff, and you try to do that in a more traditional way, maybe the way you did it 5 years ago, you're be way off, and it would take a long time.
Exactly. Yeah. And also just to add to that, Jason, we averaged around 1.2 million in cost avoidance per project, and we do also have around 340% return on investment with this AI application with the 3-month payback period.
What about just on that follow-up? Is it creating new opportunity in the construction space, or is this taking the job of someone else? Is this an additive risk management tactic, or is this replacing risk management tactics?
It's not replacing the existing traditional methods, it's just augmenting to what we already have. I should say the biggest challenge in implementation of this AI is the cultural resistance, because the construction is relationship driven industry where everything is experience based. But getting it that your veterans to trust AI alongside their intuition requires demonstrating augmentation, not just replacement. So when I show superintendents how AI helps them manage larger, more complex projects effectively, resistance becomes enthusiasm. So the key is positioning AI as giving experienced professionals, like a superpowers with some assistance, helping them see earlier, decide faster, and act smarter, but not just replacing them.
Yeah. Are there any specific augmentations or technologies that you think will make a significant impact in the next few years that you're already exploring?
Yeah, for sure. The construction industries, its conservative reputation is both fair and understandable. So the computer vision and AI powered monitoring systems stand out as most immediately impactful in my opinion, because these systems automatically monitor progress, they identify safety violations and detect quality issues and track resources. So imagine having AI continuously scanning your entire job site, automatically updating progress against schedules, flagging potential safety issues, even before the incidents occur.
There'll be a communication layer between, say, the AI and the project manager on site and those kind of things, and it will be alerting individuals. Like, do you think people will have access to this AI while they're swinging a hammer, or is this going to be like in a field office? Like, how integrated do you imagine this will be in the next few years? Will it be at the craftsman level, or will it stay at the project manager level?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? So this is going to be integrated throughout, from the field craftsman level all the way to project management level, and it's going to happen in real time. So the thing is, when you have your AI systems scanning the project site 24/7, it's like giving it a vision, like Superman's vision, right? So where we are using the capabilities of predictive analytics to also check up on your equipment and also look at your safety issues that might arise in the site. If there's a hammer or if there's a trash bin that's not supposed to be located at some place, you can build up your system in such a way that project managers get a text message or they get an email based on the risk the system might identify, saying it has a very high potential risk or medium risk or a low risk. So that system can be automated and built to get automated updates from project management level all the way to the crafts level.
I love that. So it's clear the application, let's say in the field, all those things. Let's talk about the business aspects of AI and that, at Accenture, I'm very interested in how you see this impacting business. So looking ahead, what emerging trends do you believe will define the future of risk management in the construction industry, specifically around how do business needs need to evolve to handle these changes effectively? We talked a little bit just a second ago about stakeholder management, but how do they ready themselves to be able to use these technologies effectively?
That's a loaded question, Jason. So I'm gonna bite at it little by little, right? So yeah, definitely. So companies need fundamental organizational changes to succeed in this AI-driven future. Traditional functional silos must break down for integrated cross-functional teams. So new hybrid roles are emerging. Construction data scientists, AI project managers, digital specialists requiring both construction expertise and technical skills. They're like bilingual translators between the old and the new world. So investment in data infrastructure is crucial. So companies must treat data as strategic assets, requiring significant investment in collection, storage, and analysis systems. So the superior data asset will create sustainable competitive advantage as AI capabilities advance. So the companies which does this first, I'm saying they're going to have that advantage. And also, partnership ecosystems are essential since no single company can develop all the necessary AI capabilities. So, success requires technology vendor partnerships, research collaborations, and also subcontractor integration into the digital ecosystems. And the most successful companies, I believe, will orchestrate these partnerships effectively while maintaining their core construction expertise. And the workforce development is also critical because everyone needs comfort with data-driven tools and AI insights. This means the company should also focus on substantial training investment to help workers, like their employees, use AI effectively while also maintaining human judgment and oversight. So I think the company should emphasize that the goal here is not to replace human expertise, but to augment it with powerful analytical capabilities. And in my opinion, the business model innovation will also emerge. So companies might offer risk management services to other contractors, other job sites, develop proprietary data sets, or create AI-powered tools for licensing. It's like offering a warranty on a construction project. That's exciting future.
Let's stop right there. So, do you believe it's easier for a pre-existing enterprise construction company who's doing commercial, let's say, skyscraper builds? Do you think it's easier for them to adopt these technologies and augmentation of their business practices, or do you see new construction companies where this is built into the very foundation emerging?
I think at this stage, since the construction industry is pretty much experience driven, I, in my opinion, believe that existing construction companies who are willing to change, who are willing to adopt, are at the forefront of success. But if you talk about new construction companies, if they hire someone with already existing construction expertise, maybe it might work. But in my opinion, already well established companies, because they do already have the infrastructure.
They already have data to feed these things.
Exactly. And the key is also they already have the data and the necessary expertise to apply that.
Augmentation roles, and I find that to be really, really fascinating, Sai. How are they training these people for these augmentation roles? Are these people coming out of school with these skills, or is this being trained in university right now? Or is this completely roles that are being designed and built inside the organization, and it's a little bit of trial and error? And if you have an interest, how does someone raise their hand within one of these organizations and say, hey, I want to become an AI expert in our organization?
I think it's mixed, Jason, because as you see, every industry is pivoting towards AI, not just IT or not just manufacturing, even construction. So construction is one of the industries that has pivoted little less towards AI, but it's trying to catch up. So in that sense, there's huge opportunity. So there are project managers who are traditional construction managers who have known to be nothing of an expert in computer coding, but they're beginning to spend their time to learn AI. So to be able to automate the project management process. And there are multiple reasons behind this. The reasons behind this is because, the current construction projects today are getting more complex, are getting more tighter, the schedules are getting squeezed in, and there are millions and billions of dollars at stake. So you have your clients sitting on you to get your data center done in 6 months, in 8 months, right? They're trying to squeeze those dates in. So with everything that's at stake, and when there's everything thrown at you, it's really hard for a project manager with a few field folks to run the project. So even they are pivoting to use more and more AI tools to help them manage daily tasks and also get as much data as possible. So it's a mixture of everything, Jason. You have your existing field crews to project managers trying to learn AI, pivoting towards AI implementation, and also at the same time, you have your undergrads, who are beginning to see that AI is even being implemented in construction, with them being the majors in civil engineering and construction management. They're also taking, minors in AI. So to be able to help them, navigate this new frontier. So I should say it's a mix of both being done at the university level and also in the real world.
Do you think if you're a technologist or a developer today, do you think that AI going across all industries opens up a road for someone to move from one industry to another now, because there's this layer, just like programming might have been a layer where you could work at, a tech company and then maybe go work for, a tech-driven construction company in a way? Are you seeing that the construction industry is attracting what's called technologists because AI is used in the field now?
That's a good question. And I can use myself as an example, Jason, because I was traditionally working in construction companies, like a traditional regular construction companies, in the site and in the desk, looking at drawings, doing nothing of coding. But once I realized there's an opportunity for us to implement AI in construction, I went back to school, to learn AI, business applications of AI, came back and try to apply for roles. And as I'm trying to do this, I did get an opportunity to work for a tech company like Accenture. So Accenture does nothing in construction. So it's a relatively new frontier, even for me and for Accenture as well, where we're trying to implement AI in construction. So it's happening both ways again, where young graduates who are graduating are beginning to see the opportunity of AI within construction and manufacturing spaces, and also where the graduates are learning AI, even though they're emphasizing on construction. And similarly, on the other side, Jason, the construction companies themselves are also looking to hire software developers to implement AI applications. Not only AI, because AI is a buzzword right now, but also there are some what I call selecting some smaller pain points, attacking those pain points with smaller automation processes. You might need a data person, or you might need a software engineer for that. So the construction companies are also hiring software engineers to address their smaller pain points, which might eventually lead them to build a greater automation or greater AI. But now, as I can see, some technical traditional construction companies are hiring software engineers to be able to attack their problems bit by bit.
Let's go back to something you said earlier, and I'll make a segue to my next question, which is in construction, when evolution has happened, like true technology evolution or the way things are built, or there have been two factors. One is complexity of projects, which we talked about earlier, driving the need for adoption. So you have people who want to maintain that they're doing a good job, right? They want to be innovative, and they believe that's going to be a business factor for them. So they invest. But in order for that evolution to actually happen in the construction industry, policy changes have to be made so that become integrated into every construction company. So it becomes the way we do construction versus a value differentiator, right? Which is where some people are viewing AI in construction right now, which is, okay, we can do cooler, more complex projects and have a better guarantee and actually ensure our investments, essentially. But I am interested in that policy piece. What around policy that you're thinking about, or that you guys are talking about at Accenture? What's going to need to happen there to make this really happen?
Several regulatory areas are emerging that will shape how AI develops in construction. Like AI transparency requirements will likely mandate explanations for recommendations, such as, audit trails, human override capabilities, particularly for safety and quality decisions. We can't have AI making decisions like a mysterious black box, right? So data privacy and security regulations will govern collection, storage, sharing, and usage of construction data, and also requiring robust governance frameworks. So construction projects generate massive amounts of potentially sensitive data about workers, clients, business operations, but nobody wants a project data ending up in the wrong hands or in their competition. So safety and liability standards will address AI systems, reliability, testing, and oversight requirements, including certification, performance audits, and mandatory human oversight for critical decisions. We can't have AI making life safety decisions without proper safeguards. So, professional standards will evolve with new AI literacy requirements, updating, ethics codes and standards for AI assisted design and analysis. It's like updating the rules of the game while we're still playing at it, right? Even environmental regulations might encourage or require AI powered optimization for sustainability outcomes, creating a new market for AI construction technologies focused on environmental performance. So companies succeeding in this future will implement robust data governance now, maintain detailed AI performance documentation, and actively participate in shaping regulatory frameworks. The key here is getting ahead of these trends rather than reacting after they're established. That's my opinion.
We've kind of covered the gamut of where we are, where we're going, and the practical application that you've already been able to get into the field and show working is really exciting. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for how Accenture is looking at this? Where do you want to spend your time over the next year?
I think these are still early days, Jason, but we are seeing really good promises from the systems that we are working on. So I think the next key thing here is to go and try to find the companies or even the construction companies and also clients who can implement full scale on their projects. So now the goal here is to, do some demonstrations and show them potentially all the advantages that we're seeing from creating this automation and AI implementations, show them the return of investments and try to implement those tools. So the next year, at least For me personally, would be focusing, working on some of the already identified pain points. These pain points, I am trying to deal with them task by task basis, smaller by smaller, I should say, not trying to oversell anything to any client or construction companies, trying to show as if, I have a wand which can magically, resolve all the project management issues, safety issues on site, but, trying to tackle small piece at a time, show them the pain point that exists on the construction side, and then create an AI tool or an automation tool that works for them specifically for that instance on their project side, and then try to move on to solve the next one. So my goal for the next year would be tackle a problem one at a time, and hopefully we crack the piece where we can see the future maybe 10 years from now or in a couple of decades from now, to see where AI is going to be more used on the construction sites to be assisting project managers, superintendents, and help them to make decisions very, very sooner, rather than in traditional construction sites where project managers have to wait sometimes to get weekly reports, or sometimes have to wait until a meeting is scheduled to make a decision. So trying to automate that process, I think, will be a great success if we can get to that level.
Sai, thank you so much for your time. I want to play a game of Risky or Too Risky with you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so risky or too risky, I'm going to throw some things at you, and you're going to tell me for you right now where you stand, if it's risky or too risky, and then we're going to go into a few of them, right? So my first one is it too risky to have AI replace on-site safety inspections entirely? And if it is too risky, why? When or how? And do you think that's a process that's going to be disrupted by AI?
It's so risky at the current stage because AI, in my opinion, is not at that level, and also the systems that we're building are obviously biased at this stage. So you need to have oversight. It's too early. You might see the AI taking over safety, maybe in few decades from now, but I think it's too risky at this stage.
I'm very interested in the world of construction and AI because of the regulations we have, because in the political climate we live in now, a lot of those jobs that are regulated by the government are, there's layoffs, things in that. I just wonder how are we going to keep up if construction sites can be built faster, better? How are we going to keep up with that on the regulatory end of things, right? That seems to be a big question mark for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. As companies try to squeeze every dollar coming from clients, and construction companies trying to squeeze every single dollar out of a construction site. It's necessary to adequately automate, but also have enough people to oversight the implementation of automation. Right? You cannot just have AI and try to remove the crews that are traditionally working in construction and just try to run the construction site with AI. Because obviously the reason is the AI is not capable of doing that today. It might be there in few years from now, but not today. So in my opinion, there should be a balance where the construction companies should implement automation in phases. And gradually, if they see it where there are more dangerous work or more laborious, repetitive work that is being performed by either craftsmen or crew, probably that work can be automated in the future with who knows, right? Maybe with bots or something that most of the some of the companies are working on. But for now, I think there should be a balance where you cannot release too much AI without a proper oversight or proper regulations, because we still do not have that framework developed at this stage. And also, Jason, you brought up a really good question, because when you have these data centers which are worth billions of dollars and running on tight schedules, you cannot just leave everything on AI, because now the question is, who is really responsible when there's a wrong decision made by AI? Is it the company that has implemented the AI, or is it the construction company who's overseeing the AI, or who is the project manager that manages the entire site? So there are a lot of regulatory questions. So before vetting through all of that, it's really hard to implement the AI overall on the construction side. So in my opinion, the key here is to identify the smaller pain points and try to tackle them first, and then go on to see what else it can do. What else it can do other than being just an assistant to a project manager? Can it do something more than that? So I think we are a little ways out to think about it for now.
So, I was talking to someone a few weeks ago at a conference, and they were putting AI models in, not for reviews or checks that are regulatory, but just in their existing process, they have human review steps, and they put AI on it. And if the AI is more than 95% confident they are now choosing not to do that optional human review and just move through that checkpoint. Hearing that, is that risky or too risky? They're not mandatory reviews, but there have been reviews in their process they've had for like 10 years. And now they're saying, hey, if the AI is 95% sure, we're just going to skip that human review.
Yes, I think in my opinion, that's less risky because if it's something the team has confidence in, like if they're confident that the system is 95% accurate, then I definitely agree that they have to go forward and try to implement that system. And that way they can use that time to do something else, maybe look at more critical tasks. Because if this is a repetitive task that can be done by AI with 95% accuracy, they can use that time they have to do something more important, maybe looking at a different project or maybe looking at a different permitting that needs to be done. So I would definitely think that's less risky at this stage.
Well, yeah, that's great. Let's talk about, there's a topic here, which is AI actually being in managing the heavy machinery and instead of human within it. Where is, and this is not a risky or too risky question, but something that I was asked, and I don't really have a good comment on it, which is how far away is autonomous heavy machinery? And is that something that you would consider doing something like autonomous driving or autonomous work with something like that?
Yeah, I think if you personally ask me, we should definitely try steer towards our construction sites to be more autonomous. And the reason I say that is construction sites are very, very dangerous. There are frequent accidents, deaths, fatal accidents. So in order to avoid all of that, if there are dangerous tasks that can be done by automation, we should definitely try to explore that. And also to the other piece is that sometimes you have a limited crew who can work in shifts, right? You cannot try to find shifts that can work in the nighttime.
Like shipping works now, where a big giant boat might have 10 people on it versus the 2,000 people that used to be on it.
Exactly, right? So you can have, automate the crane operation process maybe during nighttime where you don't have to have an operator sit in the crane probably 10 hours 12-hour shift and then try to bring in another shift. So I think with having adequate connectivity at the construction site, we should be able to definitely implement more automation even with the usage of the tools. And also just a piece to that, Jason, including the automation of using the equipment, there's another piece to this. This is predictive analytics, where we can prevent the downtime for equipment by analyzing the vibration patterns, engine performance, and other parameters to predict failures before they can even happen. So I mean the impact here in this specific case that I'm talking about goes beyond just preventing the breakdowns for larger equipment. You can also predict maintenance needs. You can order the parts in advance and minimize the disruption. So, that way your schedule is not impacted by an equipment breakdown.
Or even before before self-driving, before self-working, there is a real need to put AI into these tools to be monitoring everything about them. So, the tire pressure is going down. We're going to order a new tire and have it shipped before that even happens. And it's right there on site when it occurs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying, the current operators doesn't do that. The current operators does it. But if they have too much on their plate, trying to get through the schedule, automation can definitely help them.
Sai, last question I have for you. Is it risky or too risky for a construction company, especially a large scale enterprise one that's working, like say on city projects? Do you think it's too risky for them to not be experimenting with AI right now as an organization?
I think it's too risky, in my opinion, if any construction company, rather than they're working on private projects or government projects, like the city projects, if they don't automate. The reason being is, maybe they can add more value to their contract and to their client, in this case, which could be government, to show them, hey, we are implementing some sort of automation on the construction site. So we are having less crew. So that way, their potential bid can be lower. Or in other terms, they can also show that because of the automation, they're giving their clients, such as government, more transparency and also I should say more live updates. to their projects. The client side may not wait until the weekly meetings or monthly meetings to get the project status. With the use of AI, I should say the construction company should be able to, will send live information, notifications about project schedule, budget left, and everything on the project side to the clients. So I think it's only going to add value, whoever it is, whether if it's a government or if it's a private owner using AI to be able to do the automation work on the construction side is going to provide that value to them ultimately.
All the project, all the building, all that material for, let's say, someone's building a condoplex. From beginning to end, it's all going into this AI. Do you think that we're eventually going to see AIs that are specific to the building that can answer questions about itself, that it represents itself as a sort of ecosystem? So if something's happening in the building, there's an AI on that building and it's particular to the history of that construction site. When does that valued AI end in the value chain, right? Can it continue all the way into the consumer?
I never thought about this, Jason, but it's really curious that if you think about a system where, that system, if implemented from throughout the life cycle of a project, and once the project is done, if that system can be handed over to, the client side, the building owners, probably the facilities team of that building, they can use it to understand the history of the building. Because in my opinion, I have seen quite a bit of projects who have lost their design bills. So the drawings are no longer, there's no history of when a specific rework has been done, whether it's by a subcontractor or it's by a GC or it's by a tenant. No one knows the history, right? Because it's lost. There's nothing to save. But that's really interesting you say this, Jason. But if there's an LLM based AI model which has some sort of database that it can save data into, right? So that can be transferred to the facilities team who can operate the facility maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. They can see all the improvements that has been done and the cost that has been spent so far, and also identify to see if any specific section or the room of the facility is taking in more AC loading or like a air conditioner loading, or if there's an equipment. I think that's really great idea. I think someone should explore this more.
Well, you and I will start the next. We'll start the next one, man. Sai, you've been a great guest. I really appreciate you pushing the boundaries of where we're at and really treating this like a subject matter, right? That is going to establish itself and that we need to have experts in. It's how I view it. And I really appreciate having guests like you on the podcast. Thank you so much, man. I hope you have a wonderful week.
Cool. Thanks, Jason. You too have a great weekend, and bye for now.
Risk Management Brick by Brick is brought to you by TrustLayer. Find out how TrustLayer manages risk so that the people can build the physical world around us. Head over to trustlayer.io, and then make sure to subscribe to Risk Management Brick by Brick on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of the TrustLayer team, thank you for listening.